Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today, we're going to finish up our look at the Doug Moench, Kelly Jones run of Batman. We're going to be looking at number 548 through 552. And Doug Moench does continue on as the writer after these issues, but Kelly Jones and John Beatty do not, unfortunately. And that's the main selling point of these. Let's get started. 548, first part of a two-part Penguin story. And I gotta say, Kelly Jones, his kind of a expressionistic drawing style, I think he might go a little too far with the Penguin, his reinterpretation. But you be the judge of that. So pretty nice cover here. I see a lot of Mike Golden in this cover. It's a really nice looking cover. But look at Batman's hands here. That's how expressionistic Kelly Jones is being. He gets away with it though, because he's got such chops. Like, you don't really notice it, but then you look at it, it's like, what the hell's going on here? He's got talons. Those aren't even human fingers. Another weird thing, this issue is back to newsprint. After whatever, 20s plus issues, I think. It's going to return to slick paper, but I just thought that was odd. And kind of annoying because the art really shined with that nice paper. So we have the Penguin Returns Part 1, Burning Faces. We get a cute little intro drawing of these penguins on a iceberg. And I love this framing of Batman. I'm sorry, Batman like framing this panel. So we see two of the False Face Society, the Black Mask Gang. Looks like they're about to commit a crime at this currency exchange. It's after hours. It's late at night. Once again, the beautiful cityscapes he draws. He makes Gotham look like it's from 1920. So Batman notices that the masks are kind of hanging back. And then this other guy shows up, this big goon. And the guy DeWitt from the DeWitt Collection Agency, he gives him a bag of money. And he says, okay, now you got to smack me around, make it look good. So this DeWitt guy is planning an insurance scam. He hired this guy to rob him, quote unquote, and then he could collect on the insurance money. But then the Black Mask guys show up, and this goon is like, "Are you fucking kidding me? we're committing a crime here, and now you guys are gonna rob us." So Batman swoops down and incapacitates the Black Mask members, and the goon and DeWitt run off. I got so spoiled by that slick paper. This is just, it's looking too dark and muddied for me. I can't see all the beautiful details of the art. What you can see, though, this is just, well, every panel of Batman is just such a classic, just positioning of him, and just looks so cool. And now we cut away to Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin. And he's having a memory, a little flashback to his childhood. His mother was pretty abusive and kind of crazy. She insisted that he carried an umbrella around everywhere he went because his father died a few years back from pneumonia. He got caught in the rain. So his mother has this weird paranoia about her son catching pneumonia. So it's a totally sunny day, but she's like saying, "You got to carry this umbrella." And she's bashing him on the head with it. Just like how full-on cartoony Kelly Jones is being. His face here looks like something from Pink Floyd The Wall. It's so bizarre. So, of course, the kids pick on him. Not only is he a little dweeb, but he's always carrying this umbrella around. They're like, what's up with that? So now Penguin is taken out of his reverie here. Look at this panel here. This looks like a French artist, a cartoonist. I can't remember who. Or maybe it looks like a bunch of them. But this looks like something from Metal Erland or something. It's really interesting. So the Penguin's hanging out at his casino. as of this issue, I didn't know this until they told me. I guess in Batman continuity, the Penguin has been straight for quite a while. He is just running a casino, and he's just a he's not a gangster anymore. Doesn't commit crimes. So, and then that goon shows up from the beginning. He was working for the Penguin, and he's like, "Sorry, boss. These two guys showed up in masks, and they interfered, and then Batman showed up." Of course, Penguin's furious, and he's threatening to kill the goon with his poison-tipped umbrella. So this is what I mean by this Penguin reimagining. This chin is just too much. I'm sorry, and the nose. This is really silly. And this is like a better looking one. The chin gets worse in some of these issues. Another really interesting panel here. I mean, I kind of like how he uses this bizarre face, where it makes the art look like nothing in a mainstream superhero comic. Look at that. That's pretty good. And so basically the Penguin says, "I'm getting tired of sitting on my ass in my nightclub, in my casino." He's got a case of the fidgets, and he's tired of playing it nice. He misses the thrill of being a criminal. Commissioner Gordon converses with Batman about the situation. You don't even see Batman. It's weird. It looks like he's talking to himself. And the Penguin has returned to his old hideout, the aviary, which has kind of been left in a dilapidated state. He hasn't been there in a while, ever since he's gone straight. Okay, I gotta say, I'm such an idiot. Sometimes I like this new Penguin face. That looks great to me. But there's some panels where his chin is just, it's just too silly. Like, I guess the close-ups, when you can really see how silly it is. So the Penguin takes one of his weapons-grade umbrellas, goes to a jewelry store. He just takes one tiny little diamond. That's all he takes. And then he tapes it to a carrier pigeon and sends it flying off. Bullock and Montoya from the GCPD, they show up. And, of course, they're baffled. And all that's left behind as a clue is this egg. The Penguin left an egg there. And it happens to hatch right when they get there. And a little penguin comes out, a baby penguin. So they realize it's the Penguin, but there's no proof. So basically the Penguin is playing this game of just a penguin and mouse. He's just taunting the cops and Batman. He wants them to know that he can commit crime still, successfully, but he's not giving them any hard evidence. Look at that nose there. And so, sorry about that, guys. Batman shows up at the casino, and the goon here, he basically says, "Hey, this is a legitimate business. I could throw you out." And Batman says, "Do you really want to try?" Look at that great panel of Batman. And of course, the goon is like, no. So Batman turns around to leave, and the goon grabs a weapon. I'm not quite sure what it is. A blackjack? And he attacks Batman. Dumb move. Batman takes him out. Beats the crap out of him. And he tells the goon, "Send a message to your boss." Now we see some more Black Mask guys, and they're loading up a truck with stolen merchandise, and the Penguin's there to get revenge. Since the Black Mask gang fucked with him, he's gonna fuck with them now. And this particular umbrella is a flamethrower, and he totally torches these guys. And he gets in the truck and steals all the merchandise. That's crazy. I really like this coming attraction panel. It's really nice. Okay. This is number 549. If you're wondering why this cover is so odd for Kelly Jones, the composition, this was a month DC decided every comic they put out was just going to be a profile, or not a profile, I'm sorry, just like a full-on mugshot of the character in that issue. It was weird. I didn't even notice this for like 2 minutes. I was looking at this, being, it's nice Kelly Jones work. And you can see Batman in the reflection of Penguin's top hat. So the Penguin he basically turned the Penguin into a dwarf. There's panels in here where he's like obviously, he's like 2 feet tall or less. This is part 2, the Egyptian Falcon. So the Penguin goes to this Museum of Antiquities. Looks like it's from the 1800s or 1700s, this building. And, he breaks in using all of his crazy umbrellas. It's kind of sad. Whenever there's like little jokes in here, they're groaners. Doug Munch is not very funny. He's not a funny guy. But, oh, by the way, this is back to slick paper, if you couldn't tell. I mean, it's so much nicer. Okay, look at Penguin here. This is how big he is now. I don't think anyone has ever implied that the Penguin is like a dwarf. But he's really he's like the size of a 3-year-old. Oh, man. God, I really am bummed that last issue's newsprint. This is so much better. So the Penguin does a similar crime. He steals this Egyptian antiquity. It's priceless. And he leaves behind an egg. Now we're back at stately Wayne Manor, and Bruce is having another date with that Vesper Fairchild lady. There's some really big slip-ups on the art on this one. I don't know if he was rushed, or maybe Kelly Jones just doesn't care when he's not drawing the Batman as much. He likes to draw the Batman and the cape and the ears. But I don't know, but that panel, there's some iffy panels here. Still, it's better than a lot of artists. I mean, Kelly Jones is great, but some of these panels made me kind of go, But this is a very important moment. It's their first kiss. And after their kiss, which apparently is a really good kiss, both parties concerned, she says, Bruce, believe it or not, I love you. And Bruce totally fumbles it. He says, it was just a kiss, Vesper. And of course, she's sassy. And she totally gives him shit about it. She's like, no shit. I didn't just say that because you kissed me real well. I've been thinking this for weeks. And Batman is totally doesn't know what to say. And in his captions, he's like, what the hell's wrong with me? I can't even think of, the right words to say. There's some more off panels on this page, I think. That's kind of And I don't know what's going on here, but and Bruce tells Alfred what happened. So now back at that Museum of Antiquities, Once again, Bullock and Montoya are there. And look how cartoony Bullock is here. Looks like a baboon. And they're investigating the crime. And the egg, they're saying, what is this egg? It's a really huge egg. It starts ticking. And Bullock says, run. Look at this, how cartoony that is. That's almost like Hillary Barta stepped in to draw that panel. And the egg explodes. Doug Munch has another bad joke. Oh, look at this. That's gorgeous. The cape just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So the Batman has tracked Penguin to his old aviary, his hideout, and he jumps in through the skylight. And of course the Penguin is just playing it cool, just like, totally admitting to the crime, but also saying, you can't prove anything, Batman. He's gloating. Look at that nose. It's like Gilbert Shelton. It's like Wonder Warthog or something, practically. I like that one, though. And so Batman asks him, he says, why did you do it? You worked so hard to go straight. And, basically Penguin's like, I was bored. And now we're supposed to believe that the Penguin has amazing speed and agility. And he actually gives the Batman a run for his money. He's all flipping around like a little dervish, like a little Tasmanian devil. Look how diminutive he is. And so Penguin whistles. He's got a trained falcon, attacks Batman. And then he pulls out one of his umbrella swords and attacks Batman. Batman calls him a small bundle of huge rage and hate. His looks are misleading. And finally, Batman punches him out. Look at this, Batman just being as terrifying as he can be. It looks like his cape weighs like 300 pounds. It's like a ship sail. And Penguin says, you could take me in. I'll be out in 24 hours. I have excellent lawyers. Batman says, but I have evidence. And he's got a tape recorder. Basically, the Penguin admitting to all his crimes. But it's inadmissible. Because he knows that Batman's not going to testify in court. Batman doesn't do that. He'd have to reveal his real name. See, look at the chin there. That is just so silly looking. It's ridiculous. You've gone too far this time, Kelly Jones. You've stepped over the line, finally, in my eyes. Look at this Batman with the cape here. It's like Morticia Adams. And so, it looks like the Penguin's just going to go back to his life on the straight and narrow. But Batman gets the last laugh because the egg, I guess the last egg that he was trying to steal was supposed to be all valuable, something inside of it. But obviously Batman got to it first, and there's a batarang pops out. Back at the museum, for some reason Bruce decides to take Vesper there on a date. They kind of have an argument about Batman, where, of course, Bruce Wayne is all like, "Oh, you believe in that urban legend about Batman?" She's like, "I don't know. A lot of people have seen him. Almost everyone in Arkham Asylum and Blackgate Prison has, since he put him in there." But she says, "Okay, I didn't come here to argue about the existence of a human bat. I came here to see the horse statue that Penguin stole." And it just ends like that. So now we have a one-shot issue. I guess they're celebrating the 550th issue of Batman. And this is introducing the first appearance of Chase, who had her own comic around this time. I have a few of them. I had more of them. And then I guess I didn't like them enough to keep all of them. But this comic is notable. We'll look at it sometime in the future. It has J.H. Williams, the third art, one of his earliest jobs. And he draws a lot of this issue. So it's a collaboration. Well, not a collaboration, but part of this issue is Kelly Jones. Part is J.H. Williams III. Kelly Jones does do the cover, though, with John Beatty's help. So we see this scientist, a couple of scientists, and they got this guy bound. And they need to take I'm sorry, let me first say this is called Chasing Clay. And we got the regular art team, but then maybe like half the pages are penciled by J.H. Williams III and inked by his regular collaborator, Mick Gray. So they basically tear a chunk out of this guy's body, but it's like clay. Turns out this is the fifth Clayface. So one of these doctors, his name's Malley, and they work at the Department of Extranormal Operations, the DEO. And his name's Cassius. I'm sorry, this fifth Clayface, his name's Cassius, which is, I can't believe they named him Cassius Clay. I thought that was weird. But then he kind of gives the reader, I mean, supposedly he's talking to Malley, but he gives the reader, or maybe it's Malley talking, he gives the reader and the other guy the history of Clayface. And this goes back like 40 years in Batman history. There was a first Clayface who just would, he was a makeup artist who would change his appearance. There's a second Clayface who could actually like change his body. And, you know what I mean? Like if you've ever seen Clayface, he could warp himself. And then there was a third Clayface. And he could like dissolve people. I'm sorry, here's the second Clayface, guys. His shape could be altered at will. Matt Hagen was his name. He's dead. Clayface 3, though, he had this thing where he felt all this horrible pain due to his transformation. But it could only be eased by basically melting other people, turning them into like melting clay. I don't know how that would help him, but it did. So he's way more dangerous. He made this exoskeleton. And then there was a fourth one, this woman who was really ugly and she'd do anything to change her appearance. So Cobra, the evil organization, turned her into Lady Clay. And she could totally alter her body, just like the second Clayface. So she makes these clay wings and she likes to fly around. There was even a group called the Mud Pack, who was like a team up of all these other Clayfaces. This is kind of silly, this whole like recap. It's very like, I don't know, some 70s, 80s Marvel comic. So those last two Clayfaces, these two, they had a baby. They fell in love and had a baby named Cassius. And that's the guy who was chained up in the beginning. Maybe I shouldn't have shared all that with you. So Malley's doing experiments on this little piece of clay, and while he was gabbing, he didn't even realize this piece of clay, I should have pointed it out to you guys. It was growing in the little glass case he had for it. And then it burns through the glass. So it seems to have the same property as that third clay face where you can dissolve things. So that little chunk turns into a little homunculus, and it's still growing. And it seems like he has a rudimentary intelligence. He says, "Mommy, Daddy." And he jumps onto Mally. That's a nice panel right there. Jumps onto Mally's back and basically burns into him. Look at this. That's like really gruesome there. And I think from what I got from this comic, I was a little confused. They fuse, basically. They become one being. That's the fused being. This guy, one of the guards there, he comes in, he says, "Dr. Mally, are you okay?" And when he sees what a freak he is, he shoots at him. The bullets have no effect. And without even touching him, this new Clayface, he melts his gun to his hand. It's almost like it fuses the gun to his hand. So he has a new power where he doesn't even have to touch you to melt you. He can telekinetically, melt things from a distance. And we find out it's because Mally had some latent telekinetic properties. And then this new Clayface escapes into the night. Both of his parents, by the way, are in Arkham Asylum, so that's where he's headed. This car almost hits him, so he melts the car. Excuse me. And now we have the switchover. J.H. Williams and Mick Gray art. Really nice art. I gotta say, I'm not the first, 12 pages, the Kelly Jones art, not too thrilled with. Not his best stuff. So it's in sharp contrast. We get to this J.H. Williams, and it's kind of impeccable. So they're investigating that guy with the gun fused to his hand, the DEO guard. I think we're still at the DEO here. This woman's kind of a big honcho in the DEO. And she says, we got to send someone to Gotham. The DEO is basically in charge of keeping tabs on superpowered people. Heroes and villains. So they don't necessarily have anyone stationed in Gotham, but they do have a new agent who just came in from California, who happens to be visiting her sister in Gotham, before she is on duty. And she says, well, we got to activate her. So this woman calls her up and says, I know you weren't supposed to report for duty until tomorrow, but we need someone in Gotham. And this new Clayface kills this cop who is trying to stop him. Totally melts him. This page might be Kelly Jones, actually. I think it is. Because Kelly Jones is just so good at drawing gruesome stuff like that. Now Chase is greeting her sister. And they're in her apartment. The sister seems really fascinated by superheroes. And Chase, we find out, does not like superheroes. She's not a fan. Meanwhile, back at the scene, Bullock shows up. He finds a puddle of whatever crap. He doesn't know what it is. He's like, what the hell is this? Of course, it's that police officer. While there, Batman doesn't even let himself be, doesn't let Bullock know he's there. He sneaks over and grabs a sample of that puddle when they're not, when their backs are turned. Another really cool Batman. I know I keep saying that, but almost every panel on this is so iconic. And wait, I'm sorry, guys. This is Jones. I'm getting a few more Jones pages here. Another great little framing device. And now this new Clayface shows up at a gas station. The guy freaks out. He melts the whole station. And so he hoofs it, still heading to Arkham. Batman analyzes the substance, realizes it's a human being, that it was a murder. Here's a little bonus, guys. We have 4 trading cards. Batman, Chase, Catwoman, and I forgot to tell you guys, this new Clayface, this introduced this issue, they call him Claything. It's very silly. Oh, God. It's almost as bad as Mud Pack. And now I'm pretty sure we're back to the J.H. Williams. No, actually, no, we're not. This is just Kelly Jones again. Really nice, this page. And he calls in to Gordon, compare notes, and now we're back to the J.H. Williams art. You can totally tell by the panel shapes, these weird panel shapes. J.H. Williams definitely has a different storytelling style. So Chase checks in with the GCPD. Bullock's there. He draws him way more realistically than Kelly Jones, a lot less comically. They do not get along. Back to the Kelly Jones art. And Batman's trying to figure this out. Oracle helps him out. Checks out some stuff in the computer. Finds out about the DEO. The DEO is a super secret government organization. Okay, guys, in all this run, this is one of the most wicked Batman panels. Look at that. It looks like P. Craig Russell drawing Batman. That is scrumptious. So Batman figures he's going to be heading towards Arkham to meet his parents. Back to J.H. Williams art. And Batman has a run-in with Chase because they're both scoping out Arkham. They both have the same idea. And they have an interesting kind of argument about vigilantism. You know, she's not a fan of superheroes. She says murder is the concern of duly appointed authorities, not costume vigilantes. I don't care for you, for any of you gaudy, quote-unquote heroes. You're not gods. So she's pretty down on superheroes. She says, you belong in isolation. I'd like to hunt every last one of you down and put you there. Kind of like this writing here, this discussion. So earlier on, the DEO guys, or I can't remember who, was thinking like, yeah, I know Chase is right for this job. Yeah, it was in the DEO. She really is down on superheroes. These are people she's going to have to be working with, or at least, you know, coming into contact with. And they suspect that maybe she might have some latent superpowers, and that's why she hates them so much. But she doesn't know that, or at least she pretends not to. But I think she really doesn't. Claything. Indeed. So Batman rushes off. And I'm sorry, they're not quite at Arkham. She was investigating the cave where she thought Clayface would be. Batman rushes off to Arkham and she gets in her car. She's all like, not without me. Dark ears, she calls them. And she heads over to Arkham as fast as she can. So we're at Arkham, and little Claything is about to melt through the walls. Of course, Batman's like, oh my God, this is a fucking disaster. All the guys at Arkham will be freed. Batman somehow avoids his psychic telekinetic melt rays just by staying out of his sight. Kind of diving into the woods here. And he melts through the wall. That's just a really bizarre drawing of Claything. And already, one of Batman's rogues gallery pops out. Amygdala. Never seen this guy. It looks like he's just a big dumb brute. It's like kind of like the Hulk. So Batman's got to take him out. And inside Arkham, oh, I'll come back to that. Sorry. God, look at that face. That's crazy. That's like almost Basil Wolverton. So Batman's still fighting this guy. And now Claything goes inside Arkham. Chasing Batman, confront Claything. Another wicked, cool Batman right there. And then all of a sudden, it looks like Claything's about to melt both of them. And Chase says, can't let it kill. And then the panel does this. Almost like it's photoshopped, warped. She says, whatever I feel about the Batman, can't let him be sacrificed. And all of a sudden, Claything starts melting into a puddle. And both of them were like, oh, I don't know what happened. What the hell? I mean, we're glad it happened, but why did that happen? So she reports to her superiors, Chase does. And she says, this could be proof that Batman, that the rumors are true. I'm sorry, the rumors about Batman are wrong. He does possess some kind of extra normal power. Meanwhile, Batman in his cave he's thinking, don't know what happened, but if it wasn't the Claything's own instability, then Agent Cameron Chase could be more than she appears to be. Perhaps the very thing she loathes. And I guess this continues into the first issue of Chase's magazine or comic. A little coming attraction, Ragman's coming up. I'm a big fan of Ragman from way back. Though I don't like this mystical take on Ragman now. I liked him when he was just a street level hero in the 70s and 80s. But Kelly Jones draws him pretty cool. A little too colorful. It looks like Batman's being attacked by a giant Christmas scarf. But all in all, it's a great cover. I'm glad they used the original Ragman logo. I always love that logo. So this is the first part of 2. A Suit of Evil Souls. I like this little intro panel. Batman's wearing a rag cape. So we see Batman chasing down this neo-Nazi. He's in the bad part of Gotham. And I guess this guy murdered a guy named Benjamin Mizrahi. And he's totally unrepentant. He's just like, oh, he was a Jew. I hate Jews. Because he's a Nazi. So Batman takes him out. Managing to make a lot of cool poses while he does. And now we see, I'll get his first name in a second. His name's Reagan. And this is the alter ego of Ragman. He has just returned to Gotham. And he's there because he knew that Mizrahi guy who was murdered. So he's there for the funeral. He talks to the rabbi, the local rabbi. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. His name's Rory Reagan. And they're in the temple, talking about all this. The rabbi's filling him in on how bad the neighborhood's gotten. There's telling him about the Aryan Reich, these Nazis who are causing trouble. This is the first time they've murdered anyone, though. And while they're chatting, someone throws a brick through the window. It's another Nazi. committing a hate crime. So Rory chases him down, and before he can catch him, his rags do. And the rags flutter around this Nazi and basically smother him. So Ragman, he's not a murderer. So he summons the rags back into his own body. That's what makes up his outfit. It turns out these rags are each one is an evil soul that he has vanquished in the past. And it's like he has a suit of souls. It's kind of weird, though. The whole time we rarely see his suit of souls. The cape is always... he draws the cape wickedly well. It's like almost as cool as Batman's cape with all the tatters. But Ragman's whole thing is that you get to see his suit, which is all rags, like patchwork. That's a nice page. So the Ragman roughs him up. But then the rags fly off his body again. He didn't want them to do that because the guy's subdued. And once again, they smother the guy. Look at that eye there. That's crazy. And Rory cannot summon them back. They're not listening to him. For the first time, the rags are just killing. They kill the Nazi. They smother him to death. And we see the evil soul of the Nazi fly right to his suit and make a new rag. So basically, over the years, he's gotten so many evil souls, he's kind of outnumbered. They're stronger than him now. Of course, he's terrified. He's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I'm not in control of the rags anymore. They're in control of me. Which means, he doesn't want to kill anyone, but these rags are going to be using him to kill evil people. Now we see Vesper's radio show, Vesper Fairchild, and she's interviewing a guy talking about the rise of hate crimes and anti-Semitism in this part of New York and the Aryan Reich. When she gets out of work, Bruce Wayne picks her up. They do have a kind of little interesting debate about Judaism. Doug Moench likes to kind of cram his book learning into his comics. So Rory goes to the rabbi. He says, I need your help. And he explains everything to him. Tells him the whole origin of the Ragman. This is the Ragman as reinterpreted by Keith Giffen in the 80s. He changed the whole origin. Basically, the golem that the Jews created to protect the people in the ghetto from anti-Semites, they couldn't control it. So instead, they realized, wait, we need to make a suit so it would have a human host to temper it, so couldn't get out of control. So I guess there's been ragmen for centuries or for a while. And his father, Rory's father, Jerry, he moved to the United States. He was the ragman of the Warsaw Ghetto until the Nazis invaded Poland, and he owned this junk shop. He was killed by mobsters, and that's when Rory inherited the Ragman outfit. So Keith Giffen kind of mixed the original origin, and added this whole other layer of the golem. The rabbi says that it'll help him. But it already looks like the rags are in control. So now back to Batman and Vesper. She gets off of a radio show. He picks her up for breakfast. We see those Nazis. It looks like they just got a delivery of all these guns. So they're going to cause a huzzarai. Meanwhile, Batman and Vesper, finally she's like, we got to talk about that kiss. And Bruce Wayne still finds it very hard to find the right words. And she does kind of pin him and say, it was the I love you, right? It wasn't the kiss. And she kind of misinterprets the situation, thinks that, oh, I know you're Playboy Bruce Wayne. If you want to, whatever, have an open relationship, I'm a grown woman, you know. For some reason, whatever Kelly Jones draws these guys in civilian garb, well, Vesper's always in, just it doesn't go well. I don't like that face. It's just not nearly as good as the panels of Batman and the night scenes. It's almost like Kelly Jones is just rushing through these because, like, I don't want to draw that. That's boring. The faces change from panel to panel. They don't even look like the same person. I love this panel of all the bats in the sky. So, Batman talks to Gordon, finds out, he gets a file from him, and finds out that Rory Reagan's involved. Batman has met Ragman in the past. And we see Rory being killed by his own rags. It looks like they're strangling him to death. And now, the very last issue of the Moench Kelly Jones run, the second part of this Ragman story. I thought this was pretty clever. Batman, but his cape and cowl are the rag, the suit of souls. Pretty nice cover. Even though it's a little too bright and colorful, I think. So we have The Greatest Evil. That's the title of this. Batman shows up. Rory's floating in the air with his rags, trying to, almost like they're trying to draw and quarter him. Batman tries to get him free. Rory says the only thing that they're afraid of is fire. So Batman makes a little torch out of the curtains, and he frees Rory. The rags go flying off. Look at that wicked panel there. The combined art and coloring is so perfect. And look at this. This is just like some amazing Neil Adams, Marshall Rogers amalgam. Such a great Batman. This is the kind of shit that would be on Underoos or a thermos or a lunchbox. So Rory knows that the rags are headed to those Nazis. Basically, they're going to murder him. So both Batman and Rory are running towards it because they don't want that to happen. And at the temple, that one of the Nazis is going to kill the rabbi. Batman dives in, throws his batarang at the guy, knocks the gun out of his hand, but the rags show up and start killing him. Start smothering him. Both Rory and Batman are trying to save his life, pull the rags off. And the rabbi says, in my studies, supposedly break the sound of smashing glass chases away demons. So everyone starts throwing things at the windows and making them crash and shatter. And it seems to work. The rags leave the Nazi's body and fly off. Seems a little specious that I don't know if that's true. Well, demons aren't true in the first place, but you know. A little Dewey Machina, Dewey Machina. So Batman runs off to capture that Nazi and arrest him. I mean, I should say, give him to the cops. And the rabbi gives Rory kind of this lecture of, he's like, this suit of evil souls is feeding off of your anger and your hatred. You have to love God. It's a very like religious discussion. You'd almost think that like, oh wow, Doug Moench is a devout Jew, or even a Christian, some kind of monotheism, because it does seem like very religious minded. How you've got to love God so much that even if you hate the evil people, As long as you keep loving God, the suit won't be able to feed off of your anger and hatred. So this Nazi's terrified of those rags getting him again. Batman uses that against him to pump information from him, find out where the other Nazis are. Once again, these pages of people just talking, not nearly as well drawn as the other stuff. He's not always like this. I had many Kelly Jones comics where it's just, people chatting, just people without cool costumes, and they're all consistently great. But, this monthly grind, this isn't that Kelly Jones' normal thing. It's been a lot of issues. So the rags come back to Rory, and he turns into Ragman again. If there ever was a Ragman comic, I totally would want Kelly Jones to draw it. Look at that great image. So here's the Nazis' lair. There's only like 5 of these guys, bunch of losers. Super cool Batman right there. Batman shows up, a fire breaks out from a broken bottle of booze and a cigarette. And Ragman shows up too. So Batman and Ragman are both fighting these guys. And Ragman is totally fighting with all of his willpower to do what the rabbi said. So 2 of the Nazis are captured behind the flames. And even though Ragman, his suit of souls doesn't like flame, he has to double his willpower to go through the flames and rescue these 2 Nazis who his suit is basically screaming for him to kill. In the scuffle, the rabbi gets killed. And the rabbi says, "Take my hand, take my strength. Punish the transgressors, but do not surrender your goodness to their evil." Oh, I'm sorry. And that's when he jumps across the flames. And he saves the 2 Nazis. I don't know if that's the way I would have played it. And now back in his bat cave, Batman is reflecting on what just happened. And then all of a sudden he sees these lights in his cave. And he calls up Vesper and he says, "I think, no Vesper, I'm certain, I love you." And that's the biggest cliffhanger we've seen yet. Batman telling this woman he loves her. And he obviously means it. He has no ulterior motive. But totally looks different than the other panels, but really well-drawn Bruce Wayne there. So at least for these 2 panels, Kelly Jones gets it together to draw up really good panels of these characters' faces. And that's it, guys. I was so surprised in this letter page. It's a 2 pages of letters. There's even a special announcement from Denny O'Neil. Not one mention that this is the last issue of this amazing team. In the letter pages for 30 issues now, they've been calling them Du Bois and just saying what a great team they are and just how happy they are that they're on this book. And not one like goodbye to Kelly Jones and John Beatty. Nothing. I thought that was kind of shitty. So there you go, guys. I hope I haven't these Batman haven't overstated their welcome. But I wanted to show off all of this run. For the most part, I love it. I mean, definitely the art I love. I gotta say, rereading this again, Doug Moench in the 70s was one of the best comic writers, but most comic writing in the 70s kind of sucked. So we had like Steve Gerber, Don McGregor, and then we had, Archie Goodwin was still doing some stuff every now and then. The underground guys like Jan Strnad, Bruce Jones at Warren. Other than that, there weren't that many good comic book writers. They were all kind of hacky. But Doug Moench was one of the better ones, doing Master of Kung Fu for most of that time. And but writing comic book writing's got a lot better since then, and he hasn't really kind of improved. I guess he's improved in some ways. There's some really corny, overwrought exposition in some of those 70s comics, as was the style of the time. But overall, none of these stories thrilled me that much. But they are just this. Doug Moench does lay the framework for Kelly Jones and John Beatty to lay this beautiful tapestry over. So I like these issues a lot. I just wish that the writing was a little better. And for a mainstream superhero comic, even in the 90s, this wasn't bad. But I guess that's why I don't read many mainstream superhero comic books. They're just, I don't know, a little dull to me. I'm not that interesting. But this, my interest was held by the beautiful art. And like I said, it's not terribly written or anything, just not up to the standards of the art. So that's my little stupid conclusion, my 2 cents. Hope you guys like looking at these. You won't have to look at them anymore. I'm going to start a new long series, I don't know, a few episodes from now. So I guess that's it for the Doug Moench Kelly Jones run on Batman. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.